Hello, guys. This is me, Adam Driver. I'm here today to teach you about how to be a hipster. What would you like to learn, Colin?
I thought that was like a really quiet Patrick Warburton for a little bit. That's your Adam Driver impression?
I mean, what do you got?
I don't really have one. Is that a thing? Does everybody do an Adam Driver impression?
Yes.
What does he say in Star Wars?
I'm a whiny bitch.
Well, it's like all the lines I could think of him saying, he's like yelling, so it's like it's not really an impression.
Oh, wait, I do know one. He goes, "No!"
It was traitor!
Yeah, there you go. You nailed it.
You're so right. Well, welcome to A24 Quest. We just watched two movies. Okay, can I have a confession? Well, it's not really a confession. It's just the sentiment I had over the last week's episode. I thought this was going to be just the worst watching these two movies. What did you expect going into this week?
I expected Remember to be kind of boring, not very entertaining, and I expected While We Were Young to not like it very much because I don't like Ben Stiller all that much. So.
Okay. And what did you think of these two movies?
I have the same opinion about Remember, and I didn't particularly like Ben Stiller, but I didn't dislike the movie.
Interesting. Because I legitimately loved both of these movies, and I was expecting to hate both of them because I'm also not a huge Ben Stiller fan, and as you may know, Remember is directed by the man that made The Captive, and The Captive is just one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Which one do you want to start with?
I mean, I kicked it out with Adam Driver. Let's go While We're Young.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so While We're Young is a kind of it's a comedy drama about an older couple. They've been married for a while. They can't really have kids. They're just trying to figure out what life is like as an older married couple. It's Ben Stiller and a woman who I don't know what the actress's name is. I didn't recognize her.
But she was decent.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah.
And then they meet Adam Driver and Amanda Seyfried, and they're these weird hipsters, and they're infatuated with them.
And I love both of those characters.
Yeah.
Jamie and Darby is their names in the movie, and they are by far the best characters in the movie.
Yeah, because they're so... Here's what I said in the Discord when I was watching this, and it's like totally true, that for the first 30 minutes of this movie, if it would have just taken a sudden turn into like a horror movie, it would have been well within the reality of the movie. Which is because this couple is just so weird. You expect them to just turn out to be these like secret nut jobs, and it's not so much that they're secret nut jobs, it's just that they're like not as...
spontaneous.
Yeah, they're a little more fraudulent.
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie, and quite frankly, I really enjoyed it. You know, it reminded me of Laggies. The whole time I was thinking this has got like a Laggies vibe, but this is like what Laggies should have been. Whereas Laggies had this air of like it was kind of trying too hard. This movie feels very relaxed and confident in what it's doing, and I wasn't just like overanalyzing every scene. I was just kind of laying back and be like, I got some really good laughs every once in a while. It's like it's actually a funny movie if I'm being perfectly honest, and I liked Ben Stiller in it. I'm not a huge Ben Stiller fan, but I liked him in it. I loved Adam Driver. I loved Amanda Seyfried. The guy that plays Ben Stiller's dad was pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Stepdad, right? And it's basically about the relationship and struggles of two pretentious filmmakers, documentarians, and how one wants to be genuine and devoted to the art, but he's kind of losing his touch, and the other who's like this hot up and coming guy who doesn't really care about being genuine. He doesn't really care about telling the truth, and the struggles between them.
He just wants to be able to get into the limelight.
Yeah, right.
Essentially.
Yeah, and I loved it. I don't know what to say. It's not a special movie. It's not like a very memorable movie, but I had a great time, and I actually I had an emotional response to the ending, and I was just really invested in it. So that's more than I could say about a lot of these A24 comedies. Like this one, I was like super invested in it.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely invested in it the entire time. I was just waiting for Adam Driver to come back on screen.
Right.
Because it was all about him and his mannerisms for me. Like, as far as the characters go, he was just interesting throughout. You always wanted to see what he was going to do next. And that's the character he played, and he did it well.
Yeah, he's just an oddball.
Yeah.
He's I don't know why, but my favorite visual gag in the movie is just this like cutaway to Adam Driver talking to a guy, and he just says, "I voted for Romney," and then he just violently vomits into a bucket.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It cracked me up. Oh man.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as like Ben Stiller's acting goes, like it's Ben Stiller. You know, it's not awful. It's just
he just
not
plays Ben
me.
Stiller. You know.
Yeah.
It's a typical Ben Stiller performance, and I believed his character, even though it's basically just Ben Stiller.
They should have just named him Ben.
Yeah, right.
But it was all right. Like I had an okay time. This isn't going to be a memorable one for me, except for the scene near the end. It might stick in my head where Josh finally confronts.
You mean Yashi?
You mean Hoshi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
8 million different nicknames for him. Mm-hmm. Trust me, I know. I've heard them all.
No, it's amazing because Adam Driver keeps coming up with new names for him throughout the movie, and it's, as far as humor goes, it's like the most subtle thing. Like you may, if you're not really paying attention, you might not even notice it. There's a scene where he ends it with calling him Jessel, and
yep.
I just was like, this is like quietly genius, and this is what I appreciate about the movie. There's a lot of humor that's kind of subtle, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my favorite scene is still that confrontation at the very end where they're walking around that bigger, like, I don't even know. It's like an entryway into a theater.
It's extremely well framed. I never thought the movie was like particularly like artistic or well framed until that scene, and I realized that the director does know, like the DP and the cinematographer and the director, they all know what they're doing, and they show it off in that scene. The way it's shot, the way Ben Stiller's advancing on Adam Driver, and Adam Driver's like backing away the whole time. It's like really cool and framed very well. And I was like, okay. I was just seeing it as like just this fun, entertaining movie until that scene, and I was like, okay, they really do know what they're doing with this, and it's just they're having fun with it. And you know what? I applaud them. And this movie was not frustrating. It was not boring. It wasn't very generic. Well, it was a little generic, but it was it was interesting enough. And I think it's the best comedy we've seen so far in A24 Quest, unless I'm forgetting one.
Yeah, in the official A24 Quest, I believe so.
Yeah, that's because we haven't gotten to Swiss Army Man yet, but like we've finally found a comedy that wasn't bad. I mean, the one with Jenny Slate in it wasn't terrible, but this is better.
We haven't seen The Disaster Artist for A24 Quest, have we?
No, we mentioned it, but it wasn't part of A24 Quest.
Okay.
Yeah. I prefer this to Disaster Artist, but I just have some...
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have issues with the Disaster Artist, and I'm sure we'll talk about that when we get to it.
I do too, but I think that one's still funnier to me.
Funnier, yes. I believe this is a better movie, though, personally.
Better movie, but as far as comedy goes, I'd rather see The Disaster Artist.
Yeah, I guess I could see that, yeah. It's more laugh out loud funny, for sure. This is more like comfortable funny. So you get a few chuckles out of it.
Yeah.
It's just amusing, you know?
Yeah. But anyway, we'll talk about that at a later date, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about Remember.
Jeez, I hope this isn't too short a conversation because you seem to be really unimpressed by it.
I am.
And you know what? I hate The Captive, all right? Everybody knows that. It is seriously terrible. And I was watching this Remember, and I was like, okay, it's an interesting payoff. This was me the entire movie. Not payoff, setup, I mean. This was me the entire movie. I was like, okay, so far it's been pretty good. I'm waiting for them to screw it up, you know? Because like The Captive started off somewhat okay. I was like, I can get behind this setup, and then it just took a turn into the just awful. And the whole movie, I was halfway through Remember, and I was like, this is an interesting plot. I don't think I've seen this before. A revenge tale perpetrated by geriatric Holocaust survivors. And I was like, I'm engaged. I'm liking the premise. The main character being dementia riddled and very elderly was just it was just interesting. I don't think I've seen a main character like that in a movie like this before, except for maybe Nebraska, but Nebraska wasn't a revenge plot. And I got all the way to the end of the movie, and that point where it went the Captive's route and just screwed everything up never happened. And I was sat there thinking, it was really good. I really liked it. So I want to... Oh, Charlie, shush. I want to discuss with you, like, what do you think? What did you think about it?
So, the biggest highlight about this movie is the main character. For me, he is a fantastic actor.
Christopher Plummer, he was fantastic in this.
He plays, what was it?
Zev, yeah.
Zev. And he is phenomenal. Like I really liked him. Every time he had to do something or interact with something, the more interested I was. One of my biggest, drawbacks for this movie, though, is that none of the other characters are believable.
Yeah, no, I can see that. While I did like it, it's not a flawless film. I particularly, he runs across this like sheriff guy, and the whole time he was there, I was like, this is not a very believable character. A lot of everybody else he runs into like aren't clearly. And here's what it comes down to. I think, oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Atom Egoyan, or however you pronounce his name, I think he was the best thing about this movie. I think the direction is mostly what saved this movie. I think the writing was pretty flat. And I don't think the writer... Because this was a first-time writer who wrote this film. I looked into this. And this is the first screenplay he wrote, I believe. That's what I read. Maybe I'm wrong. He can write an interesting story, but he cannot write very interesting characters. The thing is, Christopher Plummer is a stellar actor. And he took the pretty minimal writing and he gave a great performance out of it, and I think most of what made his character great was his input as an actor. But then you get these smaller characters played by smaller actors who maybe aren't as experienced, and everything feels flat when it's not his character. But luckily, most of the film revolves around his character. I think Atom, or whatever I'm going to say Atom, that sounds right, I don't know. I think he understood that the draw of the movie is Christopher Plummer, so he put Christopher Plummer in it as much as possible. And I think most of the film revolves around his character. I think Atom, or whatever I'm going to say Atom, that sounds right, I don't know. I think he understood that the draw of the movie is Christopher Plummer, so he put Christopher Plummer in it as much as possible. It was phenomenal. I think it was great.
I think there's a lot of good things about it.
Yeah.
The premise was very good. We are definitely going to be getting into spoiler talk with this eventually.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But as far as without spoiler talk, this movie is good. I liked it. I'm not planning on watching it again.
I very well may. I might show it to like my dad or something. I feel like he'd really enjoy this kind of movie.
As far as like realism on the side of like dementia, that was very, very well done.
Oh yeah, right. Like if you've had a dementia riddled grandparent or whatnot, this is very realistic on the part of Christopher Plummer.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue how old Christopher Plummer is. Like he's like mid-80s, maybe, I don't know. But he played the part extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
So
to really hit home why I dislike this movie, we have to get into spoiler talk. So
okay, spoilers now.
If you don't want to hear them, shut it off.
Yep.
I hated the ending. I hated it. I hated it so much.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
This is like M. Night Shyamalan bullshit.
I saw it coming, though.
Yeah, well,
I think there's like clues throughout the whole movie that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's bullshit and it's stupid. I hated it.
I didn't... Wait, how so?
So, okay. Let's explain it. So you have this guy, his name is Zeph. He's running around, he's an old dude with dementia. He is given this letter from a friend named Max who says, "We are the only two last people that survived Auschwitz, and we're gonna go find the guy who was the big baddie, the
what's the
block
term
worker,
block Fuhrer
yeah, in Auschwitz, and we're gonna find him, and you're gonna buy a gun, and you're gonna go kill him."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay," and so then he goes, following the letter that Max has written him, and he follows it, and he goes one by one to each of these people, and he tries to find this guy who was the block Fuhrer, and then proceed to kill him. And that's after he goes and he buys a Glock.
But the thing is, there's 4 people who have the name that they're looking for that were like involved in Germany during the time of World War II. So he has to like go one by one and find
the build up, and every single time he went and saw somebody, that was fantastic. Yeah. I thought that was
just,
really,
it's just
really
like this.
good.
It's like I mean, like in the back of your head, for like cinematic, tension, it's going to be the 4th guy. It's not going to be any of the first 3. He's not going to find him early. But even still, it made every scene where he finds somebody interesting, because they're all like, despite not being his guy, there's always interesting circumstances surrounding these people, and it's like that was the best part of the movie to me, is just him going from place to place, finding war veterans and just like questioning them, basically.
Yeah, I agree. And then we come across the last guy, and he goes up, he knocks on the door of this fantastic, nice cabin. And then this lady answers, and he's like, "Do you know who this person is? Is he here?" And then she's like, "He's sleeping." "I'll just come in anyway and wait." "Okay." And then he goes in, and he sits down, he plays piano. This old man that looks not like an old man.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing about the ending. I was like, that's just a middle-aged guy in a lot of makeup.
Yeah. It looks awful.
It looked really bad. I will give you that. That was pretty bad.
So it's like, okay, so I've never seen Bad Grandpa, but you know how Johnny Knoxville looks in Bad Grandpa?
Yeah.
It's that kind of bad. Like, it just doesn't look right.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so he's playing piano. And then the old man that's not an old man walks downstairs and says, "Oh, you like so-and-so?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so then they get to talking, and then he's like, "Blah, blah, blah, you're so-and-so, right?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "Yes, you are." And then, "Let's go talk in private." So they do. They go talk in private. And then he's like, "You're so-and-so." And he's just like, "No, you're so-and-so." Yeah. He's like, "No, you're lying." And he's like, "No, this is the first time I haven't lied in 40 years.
Yeah.
And I stopped, and I went, "Why? Why did you have to do this? I was enjoying myself.
What is your problem with the reveal that the other guy was actually the other Blockfuhrer? The main character is another Blockfuhrer.
It's such a low ball, just like, oh, he was the bad guy the whole time.
Well, yeah, but like, it is what it is. It is just a twist ending. It's a pretty standard twist ending, but it's like, how else? It's a slightly more interesting way to end the movie than just like having him kill him and then go back home.
No, I think you could have done something more.
Sure, you could, but this isn't a masterpiece, and like I didn't mind it because you see, here's the thing. I like I said, I saw it coming. Like there was a point in the film where I was like, oh, I bet he's probably not one of the prisoners. I bet he's like actually a Nazi and he just doesn't remember. And sure enough, title drop at the end. He says, "I remember," and then he shoots himself in the head. And it's really dark, and then you just... But okay, I had an issue with the ending, and it wasn't the twist. It was the very end. I think it was kind of a little obvious and sloppy, where they literally brought Max out, and he just explained exactly what happened. I kind of wish they would have like left it up to interpretation.
That just made it worse.
He was actually a Nazi, and they killed my family. And I was like, I was already assuming that in my head, and I wish they wouldn't have like come out and said it. I wish it would have just like had something like a shot of Max and like a shot at the... They could have just cut out Max saying that, and remember how the movie ends with a shot of that book with the picture of the guy in it, and it says stuff about how he was a Nazi officer who like killed prisoners and stole their clothes to escape. Mm-hmm. They could have cut out Max just straight up saying that, and they could have ended with that shot, and it would have been like The Shining in a sense, where you're just like, oh, and then yeah, that would have been way better for an ending, I think.
Sure, but it still,
and then you could
twist
just
would have still irritated.
You could I didn't really have a problem with it. It was just like I get what you mean. It is a basic twist, I suppose. It's just like he's looking for the guy that he thinks killed his family. It turns out the family was the other guys, and he's a Nazi. It's like a Twilight Zone twist. But it's like, I don't know. I'm a fan of the Twilight Zone, so I like twists like that. I don't know.
I don't know. Twists like that have been played out for a very long time, and it felt like a very, very cheap way to go.
Yeah, probably.
I think you could have made a much deeper story with a much better way. And it could have been the same twist, just done differently. I think it would have been better.
Maybe. Yeah, I will agree. I disagree that like the twist itself is a bad thing. If you're saying, I can agree that like the execution was a little wonky for sure. I think the twist itself is fine, and I just like I was watching and I was like, yes, with that end scene, it was a little awkward and clunky, but it's like, I'm fine with the twist. I just wish they would have done it a little better in the ending.
As far as atmosphere goes, that was by far the least atmospheric part in the entire movie for me. Like, everything else had this kind of weird, morbid, but normal atmosphere, and then they get to this last part, and it's like, all of a sudden it goes to the extremes. It's like, it's super normalized. Oh, why don't you come in and have some apple pancakes or whatever?
Yeah, well, it's like it's like the calm before the storm type deal.
Which is fine, but they continue that kind of throughout that entire scene. It's like a nice day outside. They're on a porch, and they're just having a conversation. Oh, why don't you go get Grandpa? Okay, and goes get Grandpa. Oh, look, he has a gun. Oh, no.
Well, it's like, I actually... I almost found that to be an intentional part of, like, dark humor throughout the movie. There's so many scenes where, like, whenever he pulls out the gun, I almost thought it to be like intentionally funny, because it's like when he, when you expect a guy to pull a gun and reveal his true intentions, he's like, I'm going to kill you. You expect it to be this fluid motion and this threatening thing, but Christopher Plummer, in his like really like quiet old Jew voice, he slowly fumbles a gun out of the bag and then like weakly points it vaguely in the direction of the person, and it's always such a slow action. And I was like, That's funny. It's not like laugh out loud funny, but I found it to be an attempt at intentional like dark humor, and there is a little bit of a dark humor to this
disagree.
movie. I totally think so.
I disagree. That's not intentional at all. The purpose of pulling it out slowly like that would be to show that he's an old man.
Right, no, but it's just like they
funny.
constantly draw attention to the fact that he's just an old man just fumbling with the gun, you know? I think it's
but
not.
I don't
it's
think
not
that's
like,
supposed to be funny.
I didn't laugh at it. I'm just saying it's a little bit of dark humor. I think.
I don't think so.
I personally do.
Okay. Well, all right. Watch it and get back to us.
Okay. I'm not saying like this is a comedy. I'm just saying that there was moments of like slight levity, in my opinion. You were talking of atmosphere. The atmosphere of the second to last house with the sheriff was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. There's constantly a siren going on in the background, like a warning siren. Sounds like a tornado siren a little bit, but it's like there's like a dam there or something. Like they're blowing things up nearby. Mm-hmm. And it added this tension to the scene because it's just as a Minnesotan, tornado sirens inherently freak me out. And B, it was a parallel to Auschwitz. That was nice. Mm-hmm. And at first I thought the sirens were just in his head because he was losing it. Like he heard voices in the bathtub. He heard voices in the beginning of the movie. I thought the sirens were just in his head, and then I realized there's just literally sirens going on nearby. And that whole scene turned really intense, and it's the most intense part of the movie. In fact, the only intense part of the movie, I'd say. The rest of like this ties into what I was saying. The whole thing about this being a revenge plot, nothing happens quickly. It's all at like this leisurely pace, which was almost funny to me. Because it's such a laid back, because it's just old men perpetrating this stuff. Yeah. There's no like fighting. There's no action.
I just don't see why that makes it funny.
I don't know. Because the concept is a little amusing to me. It's just a revenge plot without the revenge plot things to it. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's not your stereotypical revenge plot.
Right, yeah.
It's a pretty slow drama.
Yeah. It's almost like when he shows up to a place and it's just like, well, I gotta do the revenge thing now. I gotta pull out the gun, threaten the guy, but it's like they're just old men and they're moving very slowly and they're just kind of
I don't see what you think is so funny about that, but
I don't think it's that funny. I just think it's an interesting take on the genre. And it's a little amusing. You got to admit, just like an old man going on a revenge plot and just kind of like he was like threatening people just very slowly, and the people are just laying in bed in a hospital. It's not played very funny. It's just kind of an amusing concept, and I was like, that's why I was looking forward to the movie. I was like, this is odd.
You could definitely turn it into a comedy, but I didn't find any comedic value. In the movie.
I guess I'll respectfully disagree. I mean, it's there, but it's not like intentionally funny, if you know what I mean. It's just like genre commentary. It's not really in the forefront. It's just kind of the concepts were a little tongue-in-cheek, in my opinion. I mean, take from it what you will.
I don't know.
The idea of a man going to a hospital and the man he's looking for is just in the hospital and he just slowly pulls out a gun and just like, I'm gonna kill you. It's just kind of, it's a little satire.
I mean, if you say it like that, sure, but that's not how it plays out.
Well, yeah,
not in the movie at all.
Kind of. He didn't say it with a funny voice, but that's essentially what happened.
I don't know. I don't see anything funny about this movie at all. No, like at all.
No, you know what I mean though, right?
Like sure, it's like it's a movie where you're supposed to be taking revenge, and those are always running around John Wick style, but it's not.
Yeah, it's instead a very slow moving Nebraska-esque drama with a old man in a Glock.
Yeah.
He never really uses it except
In
for
fact,
one scene.
That's probably the closest you get to being actually funny is when he goes and he buys a Glock, because old men typically don't buy Glocks.
Yeah, right.
But as far as, I mean, unintentional humor, I didn't find anything to be...
I liked the fact that he had to be reminded of the main plot several times. That may sound like an annoying thing, but I don't know. Got a response out of me.
Well, it's about
Because
that
he kept
continuity.
forgetting. He kept forgetting. He had to remember. Oh.
Yeah, it's about having dementia.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's a revenge plot in which the guy A doesn't fully remember why he's taking revenge, and B doesn't even remember what he's doing half the time.
Oh, this one also gave me, at least the first half, gave me heavy Memento vibes.
Kind of. I guess I can see that.
Like with the writing things on yourself and the having to, keep trying to figure out what's actually going on here.
Yeah, it's a little Memento-esque.
But it never lives up to that hype.
Except with Memento, they actually didn't let the audience in on it because it plays in reverse order.
Yeah.
When the character's trying to figure out what's happening, you as the audience also don't know what's happening because you haven't seen the scene that precedes the scene because it comes after the scene. So in Memento, it's done well. In this, it's just kind of you know what's going on. You're just watching him figure it out.
Yeah, no, this isn't nowhere near as good as Memento.
Oh well, no, Memento's
just watch Memento.
Memento's a masterpiece. This is not a masterpiece, but I liked it quite a lot, and I'd probably rewatch it at some point. Actually,
what's another good Holocaust movie?
Schindler's List. I haven't seen it, but...
Oh, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah.
Go watch The Boy in the Striped Pajamas and Memento at the same time, and there you go. You've watched Remember.
Yeah.
Sure. And John Wick. Don't forget to watch John Wick, too.
Yeah. But there's no action. Well, there's a little bit of action. I actually liked the squibs. One critique of the squibs...
I really
when the person
squibs.
When the person
one
gets
critique, one just one.
It's the blood. The blood when somebody gets shot, the blood is always like it bothers me if they don't do it right. The blood was okay coming out of the head and splattering on the wall when the guy died. This is a guy the main character killed, by the way, the like neo-Nazi guy.
Mm-hmm.
But then a day later, he found the body because he had forgotten doing that. So he found the body a day later, and the blood was on the wall and it was still red. I don't know if you know this, but blood doesn't stay red after it dries. It goes all like brown, dark, yeah. And it was still like bright red, and that always bothers me. Yeah. So it's very clearly just paint, and that always bothers me. But
Yeah,
little critique. Still pretty decent movie in my opinion. Yeah, okay. We can come out of spoilers, I suppose.
I think I'm gonna go buy a Glock.
You're gonna buy a Glock?
I think I'm gonna go buy a Glock.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna go kill somebody.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm gonna go find somebody and be like, "You were a Nazi." And then he's gonna turn to me and be like, "No, you're a Nazi." And I'm gonna be like, "No, you're lying." And he's going to be like, "No, I haven't said anything that's more truthful in 40 years. And then I'm going to kill him and I'm going to kill myself and it's going to be great.
Okay, I guess we're not out of spoilers. Now we're out of spoilers.
Spoilers are done.
Okay.
Who gives a shit?
Now we're out of spoilers and we can talk about which did you prefer this week.
Oh, While We're Young.
I preferred Remember.
All right.
So we have our first split. Do you want to play rock, paper, scissors for it?
No.
Okay. Do you want to play a game of backgammon for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that real quick.
How do you play backgammon?
Well, it's simple. You buy a Glock. You go find a man. And you tell him that he's a Nazi. And then he tells you that you're a Nazi. And then you shoot him and shoot yourself in the head.
Sounds good.
So now we're out of spoilers.
I don't think
So-
I don't think one needs to win.
Is this the first movie? Is this the first time where you definitely prefer one? I definitely prefer the other.
I think so.
Okay. I guess no winners this week. It's a tie. So I say go watch Remember and While We're Young because I liked them both. You say go watch While We're Young and not Remember.
I mean, you can watch Remember, but I'd rather you watch While We're Young.
Okay, fair enough.
If you want to watch a really, really good actor, I would suggest going and watching Remember. If you want a better actual story that won't irritate you at the ending, watch While We're Young.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, it's time to announce. And I say announce, not pick, because I have picked beforehand for once.
We're watching...
We are watching...
Drum roll, please.
Cut Bank is the next chronological one that we have to remember.
And what's that about?
I don't know.
Okay. And
Here,
the other one...
I'll click it. I'll figure it out. I'll figure this out. Dwayne Johnson dreams about escaping Dwayne McLaren.
What?
Dwayne McLaren dreams
That's
about...
not what you said.
I think it is. Oh, John Malkovich, Brewster, and Billy Bob Thornton are in this. Nice. Dwayne McLaren dreams about escaping small-town life in Cut Bank, Montana, the coldest spot in the nation, with his vivacious girlfriend Cassandra.
Ooh, vivacious?
When Dwayne witnesses an awful crime, he tries to figure out what The Rock is cooking. He tries to leverage a bad situation into a scheme to get rich quickly, but he finds that fate and an urinary accomplice are working against him. Unruly accomplice are working against him. Thrust into the middle of a police investigation spearheaded by the local sheriff, John Malkovich. That's actually in there. Everything goes from bad to worse in this all-American thriller. So it's a thriller named Cut Bank, and we're going to cut that bank.
I hate you.
And the movie I pick is a movie that's probably bad, but whatever. It's called The Monster.
I mean, nobody really knows.
I do. No, I don't. I know absolutely nothing about The Monster other than that it is a horror movie, and it's from the director of The Strangers.
And what's The Strangers?
It's a movie. It just got a sequel. I forget what it's called. It was Sadie's movie of the week when she was on the first time, I think. The Strangers.
The Strangers. Is that the one with the
Yes.
thing coming out of the wall?
What?
What am I thinking of?
I don't
Is
know.
that The Frighteners?
Yeah, that's The Frighteners.
Okay.
The Strangers is something else entirely. Acclaimed horror filmmaker Brian Bertino directs this suspenseful and scary new film in which a divorced mother and her headstrong daughter must make an emergency late-night road trip to see the girl's father. When they drive through deserted country roads on a stormy night, they suddenly have a startling collision that... Hold on. They suddenly have a startling collision that leaves them shaken but not seriously hurt.
But not scared?
Yeah.
Okay.
Their car, however, is dead, and they try to help.
Shut up. Just shut up. I hate you.
I don't know why that got me too. And as they try in vain to get help, they come to realize they're not alone on these desolate back roads. A terrifying evil is lurking in the surrounding woods, intent on never letting them leave. That sounds really awful, but we're gonna watch it.
All right.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've seen a good old horror movie in A24 Quest. So what was the last one? The Black Coat's Daughter?
Yeah.
So let's do it.
All right. One brief message. There will be a couple weeks in the coming months where we will actually be seeing a couple of the A24 Quest movies in theaters.
Yes.
Such as the movie Hereditary, which I've seen commercials for.
Have you've seen trailers for it now?
Yeah.
I am so pumped for that.
It looks crazy.
It looks really insane.
That and 8th Grade have both been, from what I can tell, they're getting wide releases. So
yeah, we should definitely go see those.
So plan on seeing those in theaters as soon as they come out.
Yep.
And all the other ones that are coming, I haven't seen anything.
How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Check out a trailer for that if you haven't already. It looks nuts, and I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like Under the Skin meets the 1970s punk revolution in London, which is pretty crazy and really cool, and I'm looking forward. It looks like Under the Skin.
Oh, well, that's because it's by Neil Gaiman.
Who's that?
It's the guy who did. It's Neil Gaiman. He did Sandman. He's a comic book guy.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't.
Coraline. He did Coraline.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
He's huge.
I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
It looks like Edgar Wright if he directed Under the Skin, but threw a lot of like punks into it.
I think that one's getting a wide release as well, actually.
Okay, sweet.
So we can definitely.
If it's
see
not,
that.
we can see it in an art house. I'm sure we can see it in an art house.
Well, let's take a quick peek and then see
Okay.
if we can see.
Extending this episode a little bit. That's okay.
Yeah. Oh well. Here we go. No, I'm not finding anything about wide release or not.
Okay, cool. Well,
But anyway,
we'll try to see it.
we will. I mean, we're gonna see it, but we'll try to see it in theaters.
Sweet.
Because
Well-
Neil Gaiman's dope.
This was pretty fun. The movies this week were divisive, but there's some good combos. So,
Like the snack.
yes. So we'll see you. Wait, what? I said convos, not combos.
Oh, I thought you said combos.
No.
I heard a B. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm fat.
What?
Sometimes my V's sounds like bees.
B.
You know how Alex Jones has the fat bees?
Get in the band.
He does. It's like I'm trying to think of an example. Hold on. you know what I'm talking about? The fat bees where you go like boo. When Alex Jones like, listen, you son of a bitch. That's the funniest thing ever to me.
Oh,
It's hilarious. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
We'll catch y'all
yep. See you
in
later.
the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.